You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
What's up, everybody? So today we're going to be making a new enclosure for my chameleon. We're going to be using these plants, these Sarracenia. We're going to be using, I guess all of these cobra lilies. We're going to put them into a grow tent, one that I've already had that I used to use to grow other plants. These plants have been sitting on this table. One issue that they're having is that there's a lack of humidity. The water that when I water them evaporates way too fast. So maybe putting them into a grow tent will fix a lot of the issues that they have while sitting on this table. So basically, these are all of the plants that are going to go into the grow tent, with the exception of the Venus flytraps that are sitting inside the enclosure. So let's get to it. So in opening up the grow tent, like I said, I used this for a previous grow. We still have the filter in here, we got lights, we got the fan inside here, and basically everything in this tent needs to be removed with the exception of the light. We'll keep the light so that we can have lighting for the chameleon, but otherwise everything else is being removed. This is removing the largest portion of the filter, and this is once we've gotten it all the way out. So what we're going to use some trays to see if we can capture all the water to hold the plants. So I've watered all the plants, put them in these trays. One issue that I've realized is that we're going to need a larger container so that the water can move freely through each of the plants. I'm trying to make it so that when you water it, it goes through all the plants. You can literally water from one spot and it just goes to all the plants. Right now we are going to situate all of these plants in a way that when we water it from the top, it trickles through the hanging plant down to the bigger pot, and then it goes into the reservoir, which will end up going to the other plants. Before we can situate all of that, I still have to get a Starlight container, and we have to put a whole lot of peat moss into this larger pot. So let's do that. So I like doing a lot of my greatest messes inside the bathroom simply because it's easier to manage. When you get peat moss, usually from Home Depot or Lowe's, it comes wet/dry. The higher portions that are usually touching the airways or the light are usually dry, and then once you start getting down deep into the bag, it gets soft. So we're gonna crunch up/crush all of this peat moss that's dry, break it down, and then from here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove all these larger pieces so that when we run the water, it'll take all of the other debris down the drain. Make sure that you remove all of this stuff, because if you don't, it will go down in the drain and then clog your drain, and peat moss is really good at clumping up together. With that, we turn on the water, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to flood all of the peat moss. A lot of it's going to float, so you have to make sure that you keep an eye on it for these first few minutes, just to make sure it doesn't rise out of the container and go down the drain in clumps. But otherwise, is what we're trying to do, just flood the entire container. And what you'll notice is that when the peat moss is getting wet and oversaturated with water, it'll start rising, and there'll be a pool of water eventually on the underside of all of the peat moss. This is after letting it sit for a day. And now you can see that all of the peat moss is waterlogged. If you go down, you'll feel a whole pool of water down there, so make sure that you turn the peat moss so that all of it soaks up that water. And then this is what we're left with in this video, everybody. What we're going to do in the next one is we're going to situate all the plants so that we can see how it's going to be inside the grow tent. But other than that, I'll see y'all next time.
You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.